great example of what our next speaker is all about. It's laughing at what scares you. So I don't have to say much more than that, but other than we're in for a treat with Karen Vasquez because she is a delightful person, a great sense of humor, but she's taught us all a very important lesson, and that is that laughter really can be the best medicine.
Well, thank you for coming, and I'd like to thank the foundation for having me here. I'm pretty stoked. So I'll just start. I don't have it memorized like I should in like a regular comedy skit, so just, you know what, lower your standards. It'll be easier. There's no secret to surviving scleroderma. Scleroderma depends on a combination of the research of people who have scleroderma, geographical location, the skill of the doctors patients have to work with, and dumb luck depending on the speed of progressions. I don't think scleroderma is going to kill me. My therapist, he says I'm in denial, but I consider myself an optimist. When I find a way to laugh at what scares me, I seem to get through each change in less time. I have no unit of measurement regarding progression of my disease. There'd be too many variables. I guess there are people who could break down those preferences that shape a population's sense of humor, but we've only got 50 minutes, and I don't think we can assemble a crack team of researchers today. So maybe next time. Let's keep it simple. My sense of humor was built on movies I watched, like Airplane. Any Airplane fans here? Yeah! I love that movie. Monty Python movies, anything with Bill Murray and Harold Ramis. Just, would anyone have movies that they particularly like to watch when they're feeling down? Just somebody shout something out. I'm sorry? Singing in the Rain, that's a good one. I love When Harry Met Sally. That's a great one too. And Ghostbusters. Oh yeah, Fried Green Tomatoes. My mom loves that movie. It's so good. Friends, yeah. I'm a big Simon Pegg fan, so I'm into like Shaun of the Dead. Oh, what'd you say, Dude? You know, that is a fine feature film of our generation, isn't it? I love that movie. Oh my God, it's so good. So we've all got different senses of humor, like, and they come from different places. And I learned to make jokes from these movies. Wow, I kind of lost my spot here. Oh, here we go. In the summer of 6th grade, I embarked on an educational project with some friends of mine, and for every day, for 2 hours, we would watch the movie Airplane, and we memorized the whole thing. For scientific purposes, of course. Now, I know you're thinking, surely she must be kidding. Yes, please, I'm not kidding, but yeah, please don't call me Shirley. I don't know when I began to use movie quotes to make fun of scleroderma. In fact, I'm not really sure I remember specific quotes that I can use here. But somehow it evolved from wisecracks to jokes. And that's how I discovered what laughs at scaring me. It made me feel stronger. One of my first jokes was a ripoff of a potato chip commercial. Autoimmune diseases are like potato chips. They cause swelling, and you can't have just one. I started calling my anesthesiologists bartenders. So I would like to thank the pharmaceutical community for that and providing their supplies and their stocking their bar. By the way, do you guys remember like when they had all the great swag? You'd go into doctor's office and they'd give you like these hand exercisers and clipboards, and they had the best pens. Any pharmaceutical reps here? I'll take some pens. I really need some pens. This isn't as crazy as I thought it would be. Thanks, you guys. I just found things to focus on as my body deteriorated, and it helped. And like any good comedian, you're gonna bomb a lot. A lot. Yeah, a lot. I think we can all agree that there's a physiological reason laughter makes us feel better. It also helps us learn at a faster rate. And I'm not going to explain the physiology of it to you because this is a room full of scleroderma patients. We are natural experts in research. Our lives depend on it. And you could find info on Google faster than I could explain it. So I'm not going to waste your time. For today, let's agree that we all have different factors that make up the foundation of our sense of humor. Laughter affects us on a physiological level. In conclusion, laughter good. So let's laugh together this morning. You guys ready? All right. Scleroderma is a soul-sucking, progressive, degenerative disease. And if it doesn't kill us, we have to learn to live with it. It's a lot like marriage. Yeah. Right, honey? I was diagnosed with scleroderma in 1994. I've experienced the roller coaster of hope, disappointment, and fear. Scleroderma is a serious, frightening, weird, and seriously weird. It's hard to explain to people who don't know what it is. The disease can manifest itself in many ways. For me, the most notable thing that people see are my hands. So what I like to say is that scleroderma is Greek for messed up hands, perfect breasts. You're welcome, honey. He's right there. Now, that explanation is not for everyone. Kids, don't try this ever. So I've come up with a couple alternatives like messed up hands, perfect hair, or fibrotic lungs, gorgeous eyes. You know, just be creative, go with it, whatever, you know. If you feel unbrave, go with breasts, but, you know, that works at late at night in the comedy clubs real well. I have no idea why. Living with scleroderma these past 20 years has been tough. And I'm still here because I've adjusted. It took a lot of time, a lot of medication, sometimes a lot of vodka, and a lot of good cries. Mostly after the vodka. Please note, I just used vodka twice in a punchline, and 2 punchlines. I'm a little proud. I don't know. But I guess that's not a very good example for kids out there, so don't solve anything with vodka. Just go to the pharmacy. No, don't do that. Wait, okay. When are they gonna kick me off the stage? I've had many brushes with death, but I refuse to believe that scleroderma is gonna kill me. And if you know, even with the times doctors have saved me from death, I still think I'm gonna survive. I've only been clinically dead once. And, right, that's no big deal, once. Started right back up, you know? Just gave it a little push, pumped the gas pedal, and I'm back. I was near death twice, so I guess that leaves me with 6 more lives, right? Yeah. I already told you what my shrink feels about me. Wow, I've got some typos. My doctors can't tell me if it's going to kill me. And we all know that scleroderma could actually kill a person in a few months, take decades, or we could just live to be 100. I'll pick door number 3. I'm gonna live to be 100 because I'm stubborn. And I wanna prove my therapist he's wrong. And there are so many ways to die, so let's not give all the credit to scleroderma. I could fall in the shower, have a heart attack, or get hit by a bus. Scleroderma is a serious, frightening word, and I already said it's seriously weird. I just keep repeating myself, don't I? Where's my robe and get off my lawn? It's affecting me. I wasn't born like this. When I was younger, my health was pretty uneventful. At age 19, I was working as a manicurist. I toiled over dried cuticles, bitten, broken nails. Manicurists are on the front line of health and hygiene. Yar. We live by a code. File, base coat, polish, top coat. And I loved my job. I did. My manicurist table was my playground. If you brought your 10 stubby fingers to my playground, you'd leave with 10 tiny cuticle-framed masterpieces. I could make your nails a subtle addition to your wardrobe or make them stand out like peacocks in a snowstorm. Some of my clients referred to me as life-saving. Nails are a priority. One client even missed an appointment with his cardiologist to get a mani-pedi. I was like, way to prioritize, Hank. Hank was like, oh my God, Karen, if you can't get me in, I'm gonna die. Yeah, manicurists save lives. Except for Hank. He was hit by a bus. He will be missed. And though some people might consider nails life or death, I had the privilege of sitting in on listening to the youth panel yesterday, and Natalie talked about the 30,000-foot view that will show many problems that we consider when we're in the moment. If we just get up like 30,000 feet, they're just a bump. I think that's how she explained it. I hope I got it right, Natalie. Thank you. But people get a little crazy. And our nail salon really needed to change our voicemail outgoing message. It should have said, if this is a real emergency, please dial 911. If this is a nail emergency, get some nail glue, a bottle of wine, and chill out. We open at 9 a.m. Everybody's gonna be okay. Hands are amazing. We have 27 bones in our hands. Like, you guys don't know that. Hands are amazing. Wow. Except for the six-fingered man, he has more than 27 bones. You guys remember that guy from The Princess Bride? Yeah, he's got a few extra. But eventually, I go off to random talking about hands and then go back to talking about life in the salon. And it lost its luster. Somebody got that joke. Thank you. Luster, shiny, nails. Get it? I lost my luster. I love you. I just love you guys. You get me. You really get me. File, base coat, polish, top coat became 4 empty words like, have a nice day, can I help you, would you like fries with that? That last one was actually 6 words, but I don't think you're gonna hold me responsible. I'd grown restless doing nails, and it was time for a change. Carnival Cruises wouldn't hire me, so I joined the Navy. Yeah, some people join the Navy to serve their country. I joined the Navy because I like big boats. I like big boats, and I cannot lie. This would have been a good time for some music, right? Yeah, so that happened, and we all let it. Me singing, not the Carnival Cruises part. After boot camp, I reported to the USS Yellowstone. We traveled across the Atlantic into the Mediterranean, through the Suez Canal, and into the Red Sea, and then down into the Gulf, the Persian Gulf. I worked in the deck department, boats division. Our mission was to support the fleet. And we did, like a good pair of tighty-whities. We didn't blow stuff up. We repaired the ships that blew stuff up. We would dock at the pier, and when your destroyer pulled in and it needed work, you wouldn't tie up to the pier, you'd tie up to us. And if you needed anything loaded, unloaded, watched, lifted, or painted, you would call deck department. And we did all this while fighting every sailor's mortal enemy, rust. God, I hate rust. Lucy, you know what I'm talking about. Sorry. Okay, so on my first day, I was taken to this place called the paint locker. The paint locker is a small, unventilated space on the boat deck where paint is stored, mixed, and distributed. So I opened the door, and I was knocked out by a cloud of smoke and paint fumes. Now, normally, where there's smoke, there's fire. But in this case, where there was smoke, there was Monty. Monty was my supervisor, and he was in there mixing paint. And there's no better place to mix paint than an enclosed place that you can make airtight with no ventilation. The buzz in there, man, I tell you. Haze gray is the Navy's signature color. Haze gray is a combination of white paint mixed with dark gray paint. I always wondered why we just didn't order lighter gray paint. But I'm sure the military doesn't have its personnel do any unnecessary work. You know, they're very good about not doing that. And haze gray, it's a great color. It goes with everything. It really does. Make a note of it. If you're looking for carpet, I mean, just brings out the walls. So Monty was my supervisor. He was standing over a 50-gallon drum of haze gray paint. He had a lit cigarette in one hand, and in the other hand, it was immersed in the 50-gallon drum of haze gray paint up to his biceps. When Monty couldn't find his mixing stick, he used his arm to stir the paint. We sailors are very resourceful. So he said good morning and took his cigarette, and behind him there was this sign that said flammable, and he used it to put out a cigarette. And then beneath that flammable sign was a shelf of turpentine-soaked rags, and he picked that up and used that to wipe off his arm. I gotta tell you, I've tried turpentine to take off paint, and it doesn't work. You gotta use baby oil. It smells a little better, but I think it might have been the buzz and the fumes at the time. I wondered if Monty and I were serving our country to test the boundaries of natural selection. Monty handed me a paint can and a bucket of supplies, and he walked me over to the small boat used for search and rescue. Can I turn this off? Excuse me. Monty gave me some instructions. This is a 17-foot motor whaleboat. Our division mans it during flight ops. This here is your boat. I was in the Navy 3 months, and they were giving me a boat. Your job is to maintain the engine and clean the boat. Okay, I guess it's not going to be much fun. All right, what I want you to do, Karen, is you're going to wipe the boat down, sand all the cracks in the paint until smooth, add a coat of primer, and finish it with 2 coats of haze gray paint. Got it? File, base coat. Polish, top coat. Let's leave that off. I've never not held a microphone, so forgive me while I try and figure this out with papers. We can never make a graceful exit, too. You ever notice that when you're trying to get somewhere with your hands and you're like trying to leave at the cash register and you're putting your stuff in your purse and the people are looking at you and you're like, yeah, I'm cool, I'm good. And they're still, and you think you're moving fast, but time just slows down Yeah, so the mighty naval ships and their search and rescue boats were giant fingernails. What is this, the USS Lee Press-On? I stepped into my small boat, and on one side of me, there was a giant haze gray bulkhead. On the other was the Mediterranean Sea and the snow-topped mountain range on the island of Crete. I'm doing a manicure, and I'm floating by a Greek island. Screw you, Carnival Cruises! I'm gonna be all I can be. I know that's the Army, but they did make some good things. In the Navy, I went places I had only dreamed of, like Rome, Spain, the PX, and the E-Club. I like the E-Club. I stood on the bow of the ship, just like Rose and Jack on the Titanic, but without the pretty dress, with Monty, looking for mines. We were just like the Titanic, but Monty was my supervisor, and we didn't sink. What, too soon? Then in 1993, about a little over 2 years into my service, I started noticing that with any change in temperature, my fingers began to go numb. I told the doctors and corpsmen on my ship, but no one would believe me. I got the nickname Sick Bay Commando. Because in the military, if there isn't a bone sticking out of your skin, you're just complaining. Back then, I couldn't jump on Google and go to WebMD and misdiagnose myself into a paranoid frenzy like we can today. Take that for granted, don't we? No, back in my day, we had to rely on things like physicians and hard copy medical documents, old data. And because scleroderma wasn't well known, doctors had little experience recognizing symptoms. My hands were cold all the time, and I had to wear gloves in California. It's so 1985. God, 1985, I'm old. What's next? A leather jacket, a boy toy belt, a wedding gown. Who am I, Madonna? That might be nice for my wedding day. You think? When I finished my time in the Navy, I solved that glove problem right away. I did the most logical thing someone with a sensitivity to cold and no diagnosis should do. I moved from California to Wisconsin. And wouldn't you know it? Everybody wears gloves there. I fit right in. A few months after I moved, I had my first VA hospital appointment in Madison, Wisconsin. That's where I got my sex change. Yeah, hey, follow me now. Okay, so this is my first time in the VA, and I'm in the waiting room, and I hear, Mr. Vasquez. I'm looking around. Nobody gets up. It's all a bunch of guys. I'm like, it's a common name. And then I hear it again. Mr. Vasquez. Mr. Vasquez. I'm Karen Vasquez. You're a veteran? Yeah, is there a problem? No, we just don't have a lot of females around here. I'm like, you know what else you don't have? Sensitivity training. I could do an entire hour about how the VA used to treat female veterans. We're a small percentage of the veteran population, and veterans healthcare has improved quite a bit these past 2 decades. We have women's clinics, and I have to say they're put together better than the clinics they had prior to that were both male and female. It's not really, I don't think it's a sexist thing. I think that the women's clinic was created far later, so all the mistakes that were made in the other clinics were kind of resolved in the women's clinic, and hopefully the guys will get it soon. It's hard to change something that's been around for decades. It's much easier to create something from scratch, I suppose. And as I said, the VA has come a long way. People used to ask if I was there to visit my grandfather. Now they ask me if I'm there with my husband. When I first got to Wisconsin, I had sent my paperwork to the VA for a disability rating. If you have any injury or surgery while in the service, it's important to establish a relationship with a veterans hospital, so you're already in the system before anything returns or needs work. I had been given routine blood tests. My fingers were still changing colors, and it was spring, so I wasn't experiencing, winter yet. And I just considered it to be normal, because the doctors that I had seen while I was in the service just said, well, it's just what your body does. I thought, okay, I'd never heard of it. I thought I had entered myself into the system so they'd have a record on some soldier surgery I had and create a baseline in case I had any problems in the future. I had no idea why I was seeing a rheumatologist again. I was expecting another cut out the caffeine and quit smoking talk. Boy, was I wrong. These guys there were 2 rheumatologists. They took one look at my nail beds and said, "You have scleroderma." And I said, "Sclero what?" Was I going to die? I was worried. They couldn't answer that question. So I asked one of the most important questions any patient should ask. Can I drink with these meds? I was in college. It was important. Scleroderma used to be code for get your affairs in order and pick out a burial dress. That's a lot of pressure. I had trouble picking out what I was going to wear today. I couldn't imagine having the pressure of picking out something I'd have to wear for an eternity. Jeez. And oh, here's my clinically dead part again. When I was first diagnosed in 1994, I was given a leaflet and a phone number to go to a local support group. I went to my first and really only support group meeting. Everyone in the group was over 50. They had grandchildren. I was a freshman in college, and I was going to school for my nursing degree. And they had lots of nice things to say to me, like, "You're so young. Oh, you poor thing." It made me feel like my life had ended before it even started. And the youth panel yesterday really affected me. That's something that I wish I'd had while I was in college. And I know that there was no way to have that because, of research, and we're here now. And as much as I hate seeing young people with scleroderma, I was so glad to see young people in there learning how they could adapt in college and that their life is not over and you're going to work and you're not going to have to, I added this in last night, and I probably shouldn't have before my speech, but I did, because I really wanted to share this with the group. It was just so important. Okay, so back to my speech. You know that song, "Live Like You're Dying" by Tim McGraw? I hate that song. I hate that song. I mean, we're all living like we're dying because we're all gonna die. Unless Tim McGraw knows something that we don't. If he does, I'd like to know where I can sign up for that. I just don't get that song. I mean, I could be hit by a bus tomorrow. I have an obsession with buses, don't I? Hit by a bus. I mean, why not getting, hit by a bolt of lightning? That's more exciting, right? Less rare, anyway. It also made him, he talks about in the song about how it made him nicer to people. And I thought, wow, bad news at the doctor makes you a good person? It cures you of being a jerk? You know, since Karen got her scleroderma diagnosis, she hasn't been much of a jerk. Maybe when Tim McGraw got some bad news, he got a burst of energy and could climb mountains and ride bulls and jump out of airplanes. If I was living like I was dying, I'd wake up, brush my teeth with vodka. I really don't drink that much, I swear to God. Have a Costco-sized jar of Nutella for breakfast. I've done that. Have a double cheeseburger with a mocha frappuccino for lunch, and then round out my day with another jar of Nutella. Because at Costco, they come in packages of 2. I might die tomorrow. I'm not going to let that go to waste. It's just strange to me. I get the message of the song, live each day to the fullest and love people you're with and be in the moment. But I prefer something like live like you're living. I guess I'm just not much of a romantic. People say the weirdest things to us, don't they? Because they care. I went for a pedicure, and the nail technician told me, after she saw my hand, she goes, "Oh, this happened to you because you're special." Being special is supposed to be a good thing. You're special, and God has a plan for you. There's a plan. What a jerk. You're so strong, and you're so inspiring, because it could always be worse. Well, of course it could be worse. I'm not on fire. I'm not dissolving in some maniac's basement in a bath of acid. I've never really cared for the whole, someone has it worse than you, so be thankful. Bad is bad. A journey is a journey. And a journey across the street could be just as painful as a marathon. It's not a contest. I used to have this friend who would call me just to make herself feel better. You guys have these friends? They love us so much. They do. Oh my God, Karen, I had the worst day. My cat died. I caught my boyfriend cheating on me, and I passed a kidney stone. My urethra was on fire. I'm such a wuss, though. What am I complaining about? You're so strong. If I had what you had, I'd kill myself. I'd OD on some pills or drive my car into a tree. I don't know how you live, Karen. God. Yeah, she's trying to make me feel better. And I know a lot of you know that everything in that statement is true, except for the part about the dead cat. Pretty believable. And what kind of name is Scleroderma anyway? In 1836, when Scleroderma was noted and named by Dr. Fantinelli, God, I hope I pronounced that right, I'm half Italian, so my God, we'll be mad. He said to his interns, "We shall call it Scleroderma." And one of the interns was like, "Yeah, Dr. Fantinelli, that's really confusing. Her skin does look hard, but she's having trouble breathing. I don't think it's limited to her skin." Silence! The quarter ends tomorrow, and I have a Greek word quota to fill. This one's going to get me a set of steak knives. And then the intern was like, "Okay, Dr. Fantinelli, we'll call it what? The only thing harder than having scleroderma is trying to explain what it is. When I tell people I have scleroderma, they repeat what they thought they heard me say. They give advice, or they do both, right? Yeah. Yeah, I'm so very sorry to hear you have scleroderma. Scleroderma, is that a new pasta at Olive Garden? Yeah, Tony, I'll have the chicken scleroderma. I hear it's delicious. Oh, you have sclerosis. My grandpa has sclerosis. You know, he drinks, what is that crap? No, he does, maybe he does drink vodka. He might drink vodka, but he also drinks that apple cider vinegar. He drinks apple cider vinegar 4 times a day, and he feels great. You know, his hands are fine. You should do that. I bet your hands would go back to normal. Oh, and another thing, have you tried vitamins? You mean those bottles of things that talk about your health in the pharmacy drugstore that I can just find at the store? Yeah, vitamins, they really help. Am I even talking into the microphone now? Yeah, vitamins. Or one suggestion was to cover my body in eucalyptus oil, wrap it in saran wrap, and lay in the sun 3 times a day. Who has that kind of time? I mean, like, who figured that one out? Someone who's really bored. The best reply for me is sclera what? Or sclera what? Sounds bad, has a ring to it. I like it. I'm gonna see if it catches on. It used to irritate me, but then when I added the music at the end, I felt like it was kind of catchy. I used it in a comedy club, and people were like walking up to me, sclera what? It's like, all right. At least you've got part of it right. And when they heard it again, they would recognize it. And they'd hear it again, and they might recognize it again. And someday, they might be able to pronounce it properly. So there's a little hope. It is a conversation starter, like drink names. You know, there's the Harvey Wallbanger. I gotta clean up these drink names in my head, I'm sorry. Bartender, I'll have a Jack and Coke. And for my friend here, he'll have a sclera what? It's good with the bitters and the Manhattan. And then there's always some clown who likes to show off his knowledge of the 2 Latin words he thinks he knows and say, ooh, scleroderma, that means hard skin. It's just a skin condition. You've heard that, right? How many of you heard that? Yeah. I had a conversation with an agent at the Social Security office who told me that. And then she spent the next 45 minutes listening to me tell her what it was. And it wasn't, she was shocked. She was really shocked. I mean, it was just misinformation. You know, as much as I want to yell and scream sometimes at the things people say to me, a lot of times I catch myself calming myself down and helping them understand. And that took years of practice. It takes a long time. So if you're there where you're like, don't say it wrong, you'll get here, or wherever that is where you can explain it, and people will calm down enough so they can hear you. Wow, I just kind of went off my script again. I'm never going to get a job in Hollywood if I keep this up. So back to this clown with his Latin. Oh, it's not a skin condition? It's worse? People could die? Yeah. Well, at least it's not cancer. All right, so we don't have cancer's numbers. And let's face it, they've got a pretty good ad campaign. I mean, to convince the NFL to wear pink, that's a moneymaker. So they've got it covered. I mean, you can cut out a tumor, but you can't cut out your connective tissue, right? If you cut out my connective tissue or our connective tissue, you know what happens? We would fall apart. And not just emotionally. Without connective tissue, we'd be like boneless chicken. Boneless chicken is delicious, but boneless chicken ain't no way to live. And I know connective tissue is nothing like bones, but doesn't boneless chicken sound better than connective tissue on chicken? It's all about the marketing. We've got our work cut out for us. How many of you take Viagra? Yeah. All right. Yeah, I started taking mine in 2007. Anybody around that time? 2007? And you're a woman just like me. And I was in the regular commercial medical care system in addition to the VA. So neither system was better than the other when it came to going and picking up my Viagra. For a while, the pharmaceutical companies were my best friends. I don't know if they did this for you, but my doctors would give me samples of Viagra, Cialis, anything, because it worked so well. It was amazing. So when we finally ran out of samples, I got my prescription, and I went to I had to fight my insurance company, and then because my doctor wrote it well enough for the insurance company to accept it, I was able to bring it to the VA. And there's this thing, and I don't know if it's like a law, but there's this thing, like if you're getting treatment and it's working, they're not supposed to change it on you. You can fight that. Because it's working. It would be inhumane to go, well, we're going to try this because it's less expensive. It might not work as well, but blah, blah, blah. You know, push for it, and you'll get it. It's a lot of work, as you would probably know. So my first trip to the pharmacy at the VA to pick up my Viagra was interesting. I waited until my name was called. Mr. Vasquez. I have completely given up explaining or correcting anyone. I've had nurses, female nurses, look right at me and say, come on, Mr. Vasquez, let's get you to this eye chart. And it's not, they see that I'm a female, but they're so used to being around men, you know, it's going to take some time. And we're changing slowly. So, Mr. Vasquez, so I get up, I walk up to the window, and there's this guy. He's got like a mountain of brown paper bags. He's kind of like sorting through. And in the other hand, he's got a coffee cup. And he's dispensing my Viagra. And he was a chief in the Navy. He had to be, because anytime you get past E7 in the Navy, a coffee cup begins to grow from inside your hand. And you can do anything. It's just there. And he's not looking up, he's doing his thing, and I come up and I say hello, and he says, all right, Mr. Vasquez, you're gonna take this, you're gonna cut this into you're gonna take this pill and you're gonna cut it into 4 pieces. I'm like, have we met? You blind? And he keeps going. You're gonna cut it into 4 pieces and take it 20 minutes before you're ready to have an erection. Yeah, I can't have an erection. Mr. Vasquez, that's what these blue pills are for. You'll have an erection, don't worry. No, I don't have a penis. And he looks up startled and he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, Mrs. Vasquez, I'm terribly sorry. All right, so you're gonna cut the tablet into 4 pieces, and you're gonna give it to your husband 20 minutes before he's ready to have an erection. There's so many things wrong with that statement. Like my husband wouldn't be able to cut his own Viagra. I'm like, no, it's not for that. And he said, well, you know, this is a recreational drug, and you're getting an awful lot of these. Like, it's not for recreation. Mrs. Vasquez, I'm sure with enough practice, you and your husband will have a great time. And eventually, you'll find it recreational. I use it to breathe. Does the VA consider breathing recreational? It's like, oh, I'm terribly sorry. I did not realize. And then he's looking at the thing and he says, oh, for Raynaud's. Oh, wow. We don't get too many females here. Or sensitivity training. He's like, I'm just so sorry, Mrs. Vasquez. And I go, it's Miss Vasquez. So he hands me a receipt. I sign the receipt, and then he hands me, the little paper I take home with it. And I turn it over, and his phone number's on it. Now, dating was really hard at the time. And I was a young college student. You gotta eat, right? He's like, why don't you give me a call sometime? Can't really do the winking thing. It more looks like, am I having a stroke? No, I'm winking. Yeah, so that was my time at the VA with Viagra. Thanks for coming out here. My point of being, I've been writing this speech since 1994 in my head. Not necessarily with the intent of being up here. But you get these stories, and you want people to learn. I wanted people to learn from my mistakes and have a cautionary tale and see that, you know what, she's out there doing it, or this other person's out there doing it, I can do it too. I'm not limited to my diagnosis. I'm not defined by my scleroderma. I'm not scleroderma, sorry. And, I can take the sclero what? Or we can make it sclero what? You guys want to give it a shot? All right, ready? 1, 2, 3, sclero what? Okay. All right, thank you very much, you guys. And thank you to the foundation. This has been amazing.